Venus is well known for its hellish landscapes and horrifying descriptions. The atmospheric pressure is high enough to crush humans. The air is horribly toxic, filled with sulfur and carbon dioxide. The temperatures on the surface are hundreds of degrees, and hotter than the surface of Mercury. It is completely inhospitable for life. But what if that was not always the case? What if Venus, the planet which has captured the human imagination for thousands of years, is actually our home? The idea might sound far-fetched at first, but there is a growing number of people who think that this could be the case. But before we go to Venus, we must first go to Mars. From Mars to Venus. Recently, there has been a large interest in the potential human colonization of Mars. New and more advanced probes are being launched towards the red planet with increasing frequency, while billionaires such as Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk consider the possibility of a new future for the human race among the stars. This is an idea that is gaining popularity and feasibility as time and technology continue to advance. Suddenly, the idea of humans landing on Mars and being able to form a self-sustaining colony is no longer fantasy but a possibility. This has some people wondering, have we done this before? One of the pushes to get humans off Earth and into space is the threat of climate change. More and more carbon dioxide is being pumped into the atmosphere, which has the potential to cause our temperatures to rise. This is called the greenhouse effect, and if it continues for too long unchecked, it can cause a negative feedback loop which can cause the climate to degrade rapidly on Earth. The more CO2 goes into the air, the more heat gets trapped, which causes temperatures to rise, which causes more CO2 to be released into the atmosphere, which causes more heat to get trapped, and so on and so forth. The result, if left unchecked for many of these destructive cycles, would have Earth looking a lot like Venus. In fact, when looking at our own climate data and possible worst-case scenarios for the future, NASA began to wonder if Venus was habitable at one point before this cycle destroyed their ecosystem. Could this runaway greenhouse effect turn Earth into a second Venus? That is what the direst predictions are worried about. But what if this is not our first rodeo? Enter Venus. This theory suggests that the runaway greenhouse effect on Venus was not caused by natural planetary causes or an event from space, but rather it was caused by humans. Or at least some form of ancient human ancestor. Imagine Venus thousands, or possibly millions, of years ago. It has a similar climate to Earth with a pleasant atmosphere and decent temperatures. There is water and geologic activity, which in turn gives rise to life. That life evolves, similar to what happens here on Earth, and gives rise to humans, or something very similar. The timeline on this ancient habitable Venus is very similar to the one here. The dominant primate species grows technologically advanced and subsequently destroys their ecosystem and environment. What do? They look to the stars, the same as we are today. Earth is a nearby planet, young in its development, rough around the edges, but it could work if we put enough time and energy into it. So humans or human ancestors launch a program to colonize Earth. They land here, or crash here, and begin to settle a brand new planet. However, due to the constraints of space flight or the rapid destruction of Venus, a constant connection with the home planet is lost and people are left to fend for themselves on a virgin planet, which causes our development to backslide and start over. Potential evidence. Preposterous. Where is the evidence? Well, like many things from the ancient past, there is not much hard evidence for such a theory, but there are some things that fit this narrative. First, it would explain humanity's sudden evolutionary appearance on the world stage a few thousand years ago. The jump between native primate species and primitive humans to full-fledged Homo sapiens has always bungled the mind of scientists. Perhaps that is because we did not evolve here but landed here instead. We are not a natural part of this planet's evolutionary cycle, which could explain why we are so different from a lot of the other species here. Second, there are a lot of questions about ancient human technology and building feats. Things like Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids and agriculture all come onto the scene at the same time. That's right, Stonehenge and the pyramids were both built roughly around 3000 BCE. This is the same time period, while humans are building some of the greatest creations on the planet, that agriculture is becoming the normal way of life. Coincidence? Perhaps. Or perhaps these are signs of an advanced civilization carving out a new life for themselves on a brand new planet. Some people have attributed these things to aliens that visited Earth around this time, but what if it wasn't aliens, but just us? What happened then? Imagine if you were dropped out in the wilderness with a backpack full of modern things and told you were going to live out there for the rest of your life. How long will your modern amenities last before you have to resort to more primitive methods? They might last a while, but eventually, they are going to break down. Your fire starter will lose its flint, your knives will dull, your tent will rip, and before long you will be living in a thatch hut. You will probably be perfectly fine, but your life will go from looking like a modern camping trip to looking like a primitive village. That is what is supposed to have happened to our advanced ancestors. Their advanced technology stopped working, broke down, and was lost as Venus rapidly degraded. As time went on and new generations were born on the new planet, what used to be normal to them began to look like magic, gods and aliens. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Arthur Clarke is for Venus itself. It is completely uninhabitable and the cloud cover is so thick we cannot get a good look at what is actually on the surface. There could be the bones of an old civilization rotting away under the horrible atmospheric conditions. Perhaps, someday we will find out for sure. In the meantime, humans continue their destructive patterns. After coming from Venus, we have started to irreparably damage the Earth and are looking to yet another planet to colonize. End of the video. You can like and subscribe the video for support.